This is the Timeless 2, the successor to the original Timeless, which was a market breaker for its day, and this is going to be one of the best planars for most people right now. And the main reason most people will like this is because the Timeless 2 fulfills two main criteria. Number one, it's technically capable and smooth and refined in the treble, and number two, the nozzles actually work, so it's going to give people the variety that they wanted since you get three different sounds with the nozzles. Now, although the Timeless 2 isn't going to be the most technical planar, that still goes to the ET142 as well as the Braindance, which I'm going to review next week. The Timeless 2 does, however, provide enough performance to make you feel satisfied and not feel like you're missing out or lacking in certain regions. Again, it's similar to the original Timeless in terms of the layering, the separation, the resolution, staging, still very solid, but the upper mids and treble is just much smoother now. It sounds less sharp, less sizzy, and less quote-unquote planar-like. In fact, if you blindfolded me and put these in my ears with the Senkai regular tips, which I highly recommend you use to smooth things out on the Timeless 2, I would probably not able to notice that this was a planar in my ear, because the treble is noticeably smoother when I compare it to something like the ET142, the original S12, and the P20. And compared to the 142, which is sharper in the imaging and harder when it comes to tactility, the attack, it's going to be more detailed when it comes to the treble and the just resolution overall. The Timeless 2 is going to be much smoother, more laid back, more like spread out, airy, and smooth when it comes to the higher frequencies. It's less hard, less tactile, and less precise when it comes to the treble. The Timeless 2 is more well balanced. It's a little fuller when it comes to the overall presentation, and it trades off the details, the resolution from the brighter, livelier, and sparkly listen of the 142 for a much safer sound that most people will like more and find less controversial. The 2K region on the Timeless 2 is also less boosted as well as the treble overall, and because of this, vocals sound less forward, they sound less shouty, less sharp when it comes to more energetic tracks, and it does scale a little bit better, although it still won't scale as well as something like the Explorer, the Arcadias, but the Timeless 2 does scale better than the 142 and most of the other planars, especially with the silver nozzles, which tames the 2K even more. So if you like the flatter 2K on the S08, the SL2024, the S15s, or the Explorer, then you will enjoy the Timeless 2. The low end on this is also punchy, it's quick, it's natural in the no way, and it has enough slam and impact to make things, interesting without bleeding into the lower mids. And the Timeless 2 is very similar to the 142 overall in terms of the bass texture and just the no way, because they are both planars, and it's just a little bit fuller and a little bit more body to the notes versus the 142, but overall it's still not gonna, outcompete something with a dedicated dynamic driver like the High 4s, the T-Pros, the single shreds, the Arcadias. So if you want a warmer, a bassier, a more engaging, even a harder slam to the low end, then those would still be better. But this doesn't mean the Timeless 2 isn't good. In fact, some people will even prefer the quicker and tighter presentation in the low end on the Timeless 2, like the original Timeless instead, because it does a great job at providing, a low end that fits the all-rounder type of sound. It is a very decent solid low end, and it does its job. However, on the other hand, if you do want something more exciting and you're chasing that OCD detail-like presentation, then the SIMGA ET142 would still be the better pick. It is more technical than the Timeless 2, while also not being too planar-like when it comes to the sizzle part of the timbre in the treble. But the main drawback of the 142 is that the 2K is gonna just be too shouty, a bit too much for some people, and if you add that on top of the more energetic treble, some people are just gonna find that a bit of a turn off. So if you're looking for something less dynamic and you don't mind a downgrade in technical performance compared to the 142, if you want a smoother and airier playback in the treble and pretty much no planar timbre, then I would recommend the Timeless 2 over the other stuff, over the other planars that I tried so far, even the S15s, the SL2024, and the S08s. If you already have the S15 or the S12 2024, you don't necessarily need to get the Timeless 2. It's more of a side grade. The tech, it's around the same. You're not gonna notice a huge difference, but the silver nozzles does do a better job when it comes to vocal extension, clarity, more openness of the sound, while still giving you that smoothness and air and taming the upper mids. So if you don't have any of them, then I would go for the Timeless 2. If you're coming from the S08 or the Explorer, then yeah, I can see this could be a good option. So overall, in terms of value, the T10s, the Cleaner F1 Pros, those are still going to be better. You can get them for under $100, but the variety the Timeless 2 gives you, as well as the overall refinement, makes it competitive at its price. I wouldn't say it's a value king necessarily, but it is pretty good, and overall it's just a solid all-rounder that most people will pick up, and most likely they're gonna like these. But on the total opposite end of the spectrum, we got the Kiwi Ears HBB Punch, and yeah, they definitely cooked with this one. I'll put it simply for you guys: if you want an endgame well-balanced bass head set, these are it. The punch punches you in the face with the bass. The low end is very rumbly, it's very deep. You really feel the bass notes extend out like with the reverb. You feel it in your chest. The texture is thick, the slam is heavy, and the best part is that the bass notes are actually resolving and it doesn't feel smoothed out like the Anvil, like the 620s. That just sounds a bit low res. This, you're not gonna have issue with that. It's very good bass texture. And even though the bass is noticeably very forward, the head stage still maintains that air and openness, and it doesn't feel like congested or like gives you that in your head kind of presentation that some IEMs have when they have like too much boost in the mid bass. On top of that, vocals are also non-congested. It's pretty balanced overall. It's not nasally, it's not overly warm, it's not recessed or buried in the tracks. They're actually very well balanced given how much bass there is to these. Now obviously they're not going to like pop out and sound super clean and sweet. This is not a vocal set. The oracles are still going to be better. RS5, Studio 4s, those are still going to be the better vocal set, but the Kiwi Weir's punch sound good for the vocals and they're not wonky. And treble wise, the ESTs are nicely extended. They're slightly dynamic and not completely smoothed out, which is great because it adds that little bit of contrast to the sound. And with the ASLA Senna tips, which is what I recommend you to use the punch with, the punch sounds bassy, dynamic, but also open, since the Sennas give the punch a little bit more of a boost in the air. So basically what you end up getting is a lot of high quality slamming bass, but also well balanced in the mids, in the vocals, and in the treble, like the Titans and the Origin, but just not as much. Value wise, this is like the much better pick when it comes to the bass headset. But there is still some difference. For example, the Titans and the Origin, it's going to be cleaner when it comes to the mids. It's going to be a little bit more technical in the micro details. And overall, the low end isn't going to be as like, you know, forward. It's tighter, it's quicker on the Titans and the Origins. However, the trade-off to technicalities is that you do get more of the thing you love, aka you get more bass. So for bass heads, this is a no-brainer pretty much. If you're choosing between the Origin, the Titans, and the punch, just get the punch. It's just so much more fun when it comes to hip-hop, rock, R&B, even pop. It's not going to be as technical. It's still like pretty good for the price, but the amount of raw low end you get more than justifies the trade-off in the technical performance, especially if you are a bass head. Now versus the Deuce, at first I thought the punch was just going to be a side grade because, you know, they're both bass headsets, but the punch is actually better across the board. And no, I still have not gotten my Deuce yet. Basically, the punch has the same amount of sub bass, but now it just has more tactility and texture to the mid bass. The mid bass slams a lot harder now. There's more of it. Drums, bass lines, and male vocals all sound a bit meatier. They sound a bit thicker and more engaging overall, while still sounding balanced in the vocals. And when it comes to the overall technical performance, the punch is a step up as well. The treble is more detailed, it's more airy, and the overall sense of space is also more noticeable over the Deuce. It gives you the impact, the slam, and the rumble, but without like kind of that in your head kind of feeling. If you're taking the Deuce and thinking of upgrading, then the punch would be like a good pick. The same could be said for other bassy sets like the DOSCINCOs, the Hype 4s, the T-Pros. If you dig those sets, but you just wanted, you know, even more bass, you know, better texture on top, even more rumble and impact, then the punch will satisfy that craving without you needing to, you know, drop $1,000 on the Origin or the Titans. But on the other hand, if you found the amount of bass on the Hype 4s and the T-Pros to be just perfect, you know, any more and it's going to be too much, then something like the Hype 10s or the Monarch Mark 3s would be the better fit as like a bassy all-rounder set instead. And if you only SYMPHONIUM Meteors, the punch would actually be a good side grade because the sound is actually pretty different. It's less warm and like mid-bassy focus, less airy in the treble, and it just has like more sub-bass, more dominance in the like overall slam. So instead of a warm, airy, and dreamy sound from the Meteors, you get a much more dynamic and engaging listen like the name suggests. You're gonna get punched in the face with a lot of bass, and it's very enjoyable. So overall, if you're a bass head, I would definitely recommend these. And if you're willing to EQ, you can actually EQ down the bass on the punch, and it would fit the endgame IE target like pretty much like dead on. It sounds really good. And if you don't know what the endgame IE target is, it's basically a target that me and a few other reviewers coincidentally came to just by like playing around with these tunings and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, you know, both 7Hz and Kiwi Ears dropped some bangers this time. I definitely recommend the Thomas 2 as well as the punch here. Great sets. Make sure you use the Senkai regulars with the Thomas 2 or the Senkai Ys depending on how it fits, and then the ASLA Sennas or the Divinus with the punch. I also got the Dunu Brain Dance, the A1Ts, the T10 Pros, and some other stuff on the way ready for next week's speedrun, so get ready for that. And for the giveaway winners, check out the pinned comment below, and I'm going to be giving away more IEMs in this video and the next video following up until New Year's, so good luck. But That aside, I hope this review was helpful. Thanks for watching. Good luck on the giveaways, and I'll see everyone in the next one.
Shout out to Rorik's Cat, Dom Q, Star Buccaneers, Disco Scaldus, B Urak, Mystic Spoon Attack, Walker Standard, User, Patrick, Polly J, Mr. Gorillas, Anton Risto, Gis Sang Young, Ed Dunlap, Christopher Jackson, Name, Henry Claudia, Son of a Horse, 777ZK, Ben Thompson, Obi, Treble Extended, Wizard, Frickalicious, Andrick, Ricardo, Tapas R, Chucko Norris, Asher, Oh Really, Contain Guava Juice Gains, Xuan Bak Lee, and Nico. Thank you guys so much.